Hey folks, welcome to the Comic Chronicle podcast. I'm your guys' host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Now we're doing something new. We're getting video for you guys. So this is a video podcast, and we're taking it in from Skype and such like that as well with Joshua Cassara. You know, he works on X-Force and many other X-Men books. A few other things coming up and whatnot, and Venom, all sorts of jazz. You know, the Comic Chronicle podcast has been audio. So if you guys like what you hear or see in this video podcast, you guys can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or even comicchronicle.podbean.com. And if you want to stay in touch with me, you can follow me at DakotaMorgan3 on Twitter or at Dakota_Morgan97 on Instagram. Stay in touch with the comic stuff I do, nature, a lot of involvement with nature to say the least here, and as well as many other fun things abound, and my own comics and such. So thanks, everyone, for tuning into this episode, and hopefully you guys enjoy the talk with Joshua. Subscribe on YouTube if you want to see more video interviews and such as well, but I'll catch y'all in the interview. And yes, we're recording. Well, you know what? Welcome to the show, good man. I got to just start with that one. Welcome to the show, boss. Like, how are you doing today? Like, has it been okay for you? Has it been chaos? I know this podcast host guy made you use Skype, and you're like, oh, this motherfucker.
You mean just today or my entire life?
Weekend. Well, weekend. How are you holding up this weekend as this is recording?
Because weekend's been fine. Weekend, just work yesterday. Tried to have some. We're gonna have like some family night last night, and then we ended up watching Black Panther. Had all the board games out, and then we watched Black Panther. So it was a good little bittersweet night. And today woke up kind of later than usual. I usually try to get up early, get to work before everybody gets up. I can be pretty productive before everybody starts interrupting.
I feel that.
And then, but today a little bit late, helped my wife out cutting some things, and then doing a little bit of work and just work off into the night after this. So that's how my Sundays usually are.
I like it. Well, it's good. I mean, it's nice, relax. People ask, like, oh, how are you doing during the week and stuff like that? Well, in 2020 sense, fuck that, because we can't do that anymore, because week, it could be so much. Yeah. So now it's like, we got to take it by a day basis. We'll get the comic stuff like that, but we've done a little bit of work in the comics. But I heard, and I think I saw on Twitter, if I remember correctly too, you're also a paleontological fan.
Yeah, that's just it's a combination of a little bit of joke and passing interest. It's just me being a little silly in the sense of, I think a lot of my interests are just science based, like a lot of my reading and things, and just the things that it's the articles or whatever. It's not even like I'm a hobbyist or anything. It's just the stuff that I guess I tend to interest in. But I just throw that out there because you could be amateur or anything, I guess. So
it's very true. You can be amateur whatever you want. I mean, if there's a whole amateur porn section, you can do whatever you want in amateur.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I like it. So what exactly interests you? Because I used to work in paleontology for a little bit and do a little bit of research and stuff like that nowadays. And I'm on comics. What is free time?
No free time.
Like shit. But so what interests you in it? I'm very curious.
I don't know. I just the books, I guess, like a lot of the audiobooks and stuff that I listen to, it's science based. It's the history of how we got here as a all plants and life and everything like that. And so it just kind of stems from that. It's not too deep. It's a little more just me kind of having fun.
Interested. I like it though. Well, at least you're accepting of it and like have a passing interest, because a lot of people these days like, science, get out of here. No, I'm fine. I'll take a selfie though with some statue or something like that. I don't know. It's really weird. Like, to me, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, it seems like science has gone down in people's interest in a lot of aspects. And it's kind of weird. It seems like it. Like, learn about nature around you more because it's important.
I just think, it's just something that insanely fascinates me. It's the complexity and just obviously the scope and the scale of time is incomprehensible to us, how we did get here. But it's, I don't know, just fascinating.
It's true. All the time, like what? People are like, oh, in the last 100 years, a big, huge thing happened. I'm like, that's nothing in the scale of time here. Like, in the time scale, like, we got measurement of millions of years. And when they say, oh, past, 20 years has been really eventful. Yeah, it's been eventful. But on the time scale, this is a hair. This is like a little hair follicle, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's what the beauty of it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. we could talk about science all day, but
Yep.
but you've done work in comics and one with X-Force and such, and you're an artist, which is magic. I like to say to you guys, I'm a writer. I do a bunch of the writing aspects and stuff, right? For a few different series and stuff as well. But you guys, I think, are the true magicians because you guys bring to life words off a page.
Well, thank you. But I say this. I would say the same thing about any good writer or musician or anything. I don't see. You don't see all the hours and all the sweat and tears that go into the final product. You just see the final product at the end of it. So it looks like magic. You know, you don't see how the sausage is made as much. So I feel the same way about good writing. I mean, like how did you line that all up together? You know, like I get it. You have to do the work, but I feel the same way. It's incredible. But you know what? You're right. I look at other artists and I'm just like, oh, how did they do that? You know, everyone has their own take on things, but that's why, you know, I'll use Twitter. I use it mainly just for work, but my secret is I love just following everybody and just to see all the art coming in and to see what everybody's doing.
It's inspirational, almost, one could say.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's inspirational, and it gives you ideas, and it's just like next to me for work, I have a pile of books, and I just call it's like my inspiration pile, my reading pile. It's books that kind of stay. It's about 20 or 30 books that stay there that I will sometimes just flip through if I'm not if I'm trying to go for a certain thing, but just to kind of kickstart you to go, oh my God, they make awesome things. I want to make awesome things too.
Yeah. You're like, what would this design look like? Let me look through here. Aha, got it. That's like that. Yeah.
You know, when you're creating anything, you're just a patchwork of all your influences. So, you know that it'll you know, you take little bits and pieces of the things that you like. You know, I like, the way somebody does the anatomy here, or the way that somebody may even do their panel layouts here, and kind of, you know, again, take bits and pieces of that.
Well, how long have you been doing this for, though? Like, has it been like a recent project, or has it been like a lifelong thing? Because a lot of people I've been talking to, it's been lifelong, but there's a few that have like, I just started, but who knows?
Yeah.
Like, what do you got?
It's a weird combo. I mean, I've always drawn, I guess, you know, since I was a little kid. And, you know, you'd get a little bit of positive feedback, I think, is kind of where it stems from. I think there's some innate talent, I think, you know, especially, and there's some people that are just geniuses, but I think for the most part, it's just practice like anything. You know, if you drew as much as I did, you know, you'd be good too. It's just, if you practice guitar 8 hours a day in a year, you'd be amazing. You know, Steven started from scratch, and I'll draw at the least 8 hours a day. You know, I'd always drawn, and I loved comics. I started reading comics about 8 or 9 years old, so I've always been influenced by that. And I always liked that, so I'd always draw that too. I would draw my own little comics and stuff. I never took it seriously. You know, I probably close to around the time of, you know, in high school, I would start drawing a little bit of more storytelling panels and stuff. But if anything took me more than like 2 hours, I would be like, I can't believe it looks terrible, and just kind of be over it and not really.
Just 2 hours, and you're like, man, 2 hours is a lot of fucking work. And then older self, he's like, 2 hours, man, I'd kill for that. I'm working on hour 12 on a piece. That's exactly
it. And I would try a little bit, but not really try. And I didn't really understand it. I didn't study storytelling as much. But you know, I went to college. I didn't study art or anything like that. But I would still always draw in the background, maybe paint a little bit. But I still always read comics, and they were always lingering in the background, where I just loved it, and I loved the art form. I had started dating my now wife, and she's like, oh, look at my, you know, I said, I'm a wannabe artist or whatever, but I wasn't really hardcore. It was just stuff that I did as like a hobby and a small pastime. And I had some old comic book pages. I don't even know what they were, but she thought they were so cool. She's like, why don't you do that? I know you like comics, and why didn't you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I never really tried. And then I kind of sat down and decided to maybe just give it a good shot. I drew just a pinup of Magnus, a robot fighter,
Shit.
Yeah, and I think I spent like 8 hours on it, and just the difference I noticed, like, when I really put that effort in, and I saw, wow, this made such a difference, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. So from there, I really kind of started drawing. I'm about 30 years old at this point, so this is kind of late. And I just started reading more and more books. Not so much like how to make comics kind of thing, just reading a lot more books and studying it, but looking online, and there's a lot of tips. And I just started drawing more and more, just working, anatomy and all kinds of stuff, but then just the basic storytelling. And I got to the point where, like, this is pretty cool. I wanted to give myself my own book to draw. And I wrote my own short story, 30-page book. It's a silent book. And it's just, it was about a Japanese holdout from World War II who was like stranded on an island. And just
the real life story one, or was it just yours?
Just my own.
I mean, okay.
Taking a little bit, it's like a little bit of, history, historical fiction or something. And anyway, the point was that it was something for me to draw, and I gave myself a deadline to draw these 30 pages, and I had it all like on my thumbnails and everything. I'm like, okay, I worked all night, and then I would wake up early, draw all day, go to work, and just rinse and repeat, and just hit my, try to hit my schedule and see if this is something that I wanted to do. And I got to the end, I hit my deadline, got to the end of it, and it was like, I want more. I want to do this. Like, this is awesome. Like, telling a story is awesome. And so it just kind of like a little, I printed a bunch of them, and just my own little self-published book. It never had, it's not really out there at all. I do have some copies that I'll eventually kind of hand out at some point.
Just celebrate like family member presents here. Here's an exclusive thing. Merry Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just a little black and white book, but I'm pretty proud of it. Just it kind of kickstarted me to go, because like, I became addicted instantly. It was like, I want to tell stories. This is awesome. And so I started working on just my portfolio and just kind of putting myself out there a little bit online. I think like DeviantArt, or I don't even know where else, and getting a little bit of more feedback. It's always good to get some feedback from people. And then, a couple commissions and some people hiring me to do like some short stories or their own books or some private little commissions. And then I started going to San Diego. Well, I've always gone to San Diego Comic-Con since I was a little kid, but I started actually bringing like a portfolio and stuff, and trying to, show my stuff around. And some people, they blow you off, and some people were really receptive to it, and just giving you some really good tips. And eventually, this is 2014, maybe. So I'm just a couple of years into really kind of trying and getting into this. And one of the editors, Steve White at Titan, I missed. They had a portfolio review, and I had missed it, and I just went to the booth. I said, hey, I wasn't able to make it, but if somebody's here who wants to take a look at my portfolio, and he was just running off to lunch, and he said, yeah, I'll take it. And he was just, whatever.
The usual, yeah, sure, kid.
Yeah. And he looked at it, and he's like, actually, this is really great. I got to run, but here's my contact info. This is definitely something we can look into and stuff. So that kind of, after just getting blown off by pretty much everybody, which happens, is good. It makes you better, because the good ones will give you the right tips and constructive criticism.
It's best to be rejected, and people are like, I got rejected, it's over. No, it's never over after one rejection. That's fucked knowledge. I don't know who says that in school these days. You got to get rejected over and over again if it's something you love, because it pushes you, it evolves you. Science. It evolves you. It does so much like that. It's true. You're absolutely right. Like, you have to fail in order to succeed.
Yeah, I feel like that way just in general. I mean, there's some stuff that I'm definitely proud of, but for the most part, you look back at anything you've drawn a week ago, a year ago, you're always like, all you see are your faults. And I think while that's like, it bums you out sometimes, but I think that's what drives you to just get better. And if you're happy with everything you've done, I don't think you're able to evolve. I kept in contact with him at Titan, and he was trying to set me up with a couple different things, and then he set me up with Noel Clark, who works on like one of the Doctor Who. He was like in Doctor Who for a long time. He does movies and all kinds of things. And we did a book together. It was kind of like my first book that kind of got out there. And also in the meantime, I was helping out doing some Doctor Who covers and things like that. So that was kind of my first stuff.
Just name drop the Doctor Who right now, where fans are like, Doctor Who, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like, wow.
So that was pretty cool, and they were all really, really nice at Titan. And I did that book, The Troop, with Noel, and I literally think before that book came out, Tom Brevoort at Marvel had emailed me to say, I saw you were doing this, and like to see if you'd want to come try out here, like at Marvel. So so there's a lot of just a lot of luck involved. You think I work hard and you try to get better, but there's a lot of right timing and right time, right place sort of thing too.
But as a Midwestern kid, because I grew up in Illinois for like 16 years and was born there, now Arizona. But as a Midwestern kid at heart, I appreciate that story so much and I think people should, because think about it, you self-taught yourself so much. Mm-hmm. And also that little bit of good advice, like someone giving you, or not good advice, but what would you say? Good inspiration almost, or feedback. There we go.
Yeah, good feedback.
Good feedback. Like good feedback can go so long. Like that little bit of good feedback from now the wife, which is also amazing, by the way. And because that's love. If like they give you good feedback, like, you know what, she's the one.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
You can go so long on that. And good feedback, I think, is very important. Like people are like, oh, it's always the negative feedback. I know you need a little bit of good feedback, because a little bit of good feedback is a seed. I call it the seed that grows into a tree.
Sure,
it's true. Like, and you worked hard, man. That's a motivating fucking story right there.
No, that's true. Yeah, while I remember why I was doing trying to do the portfolio thing and showing, I've had plenty of editors just kind of blew me off, but also there were some. One of the DC editors was really good. He kind of took me aside. He's like, I can't hire you anything right now, but he's like, you're really on the right track. And he gave, and he said, I've seen people who are right at that point, and I think you're right at that point where if you're not getting that encouragement, you might just drop off, and just because it's a ton of work, and something like that. He's like, you're right there. These are some of the things you need to work on, but I think you're on the right track, and I don't think you should quit. And so that's great to hear.
That's what you want to hear from the head honcho. Be like, hey, keep going. Okay.
Yeah, and there was even a professional that, he's really big time, and I think it's a personal story, so I don't think I'm gonna put his name out there.
Yeah, good.
But he looked at my portfolio kind of as he was blowing up, and he was really nice about it. And I had left him my contact info. I don't know why. I think he even asked for it, but just down the road, he'd emailed me just a really nice, hey, kind of the same thing. This is good. You should keep doing this sort of thing. I can see you working in comics and stuff. So again, that's really a cool, selfless thing that he did. That would I still be doing this now or not? I don't know. But that definitely helped keep you in that momentum.
Yeah,
moving along.
Oh yeah. The wheels keep turning, and they never stop turning. If you get 100% negative feedback all the time, then I think you just stop dead in your tracks. All right, fuck it. I guess I'm gonna go swipe groceries or something like that. But then eventually you'll get back to it. It's this whole thing. It's not so much positivity can really affect people, and I know we're drought for it these days.
Oh yeah. That's what I try to be. There's no reason. There's too much. There's too much negativity in the world to be like that. I try to have, as far as I'm not super big on social media, but with my Twitter, like I said, it's basically through work, but I try to just keep everything always just light and just humor and be positive when I see people's work, and there's no reason not to be anything but that.
Exactly. And that seems to be tough to get through people's heads these days, which I'm like, why?
Yeah.
But on more positivity note, what books were you reading as a kid? What's young Joshua's books? I'm really curious here. Was it, I don't know, was it X-Men or was it something different?
Eventually. Well, the first book I ever bought was Gru the Wanderer. I don't know if you know who he is.
I've heard of him. I've heard it and seen a little bit for it, but I've not heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, it's the first book. It's Gru number 58. It was I bought it at the liquor store, the spinner rack. I remember my brother bought some books too, but that's the very first book I ever bought. I still love it. It might be my favorite series of all time. It's humor, it's fun, it's adventure, it's my kind of thing. And so I like that stuff. And then I remember we learned about comic book stores. And so my mom would take us to the comic book store, and as a kid, they had, back then they had 10-cent bins or even quarter bins, and I would use most of my money for that because I could just the bang for my buck. And so I really loved the Fantastic Four. So a lot of old issues of the Fantastic Four.
Good choice.
Yeah, and then going into middle school, and then going into high school is right around the Image boom, and so there was Marvel blowing up, and I've got Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, all those guys, Rob Liefeld, and of course that's kind of my coming of age, and that's when I really loved to draw and copy that style as much as possible, and I love that stuff. So that transition from the original X-Force, I remember buying the first X-Force #1.
Oh my god!
It was a bag and everything.
You've aged yourself a little bit here, but I'm just gonna say you kind of aged yourself. Like, I remember buying this one, but
I know I'm old. That's okay.
It's fine. You have wisdom.
Yeah, so that's I see you have the Superman behind you.
Yeah. The workshop. Yeah.
I remember buying 2 copies of that. So one I can open and one I can keep sealed up because there's my retirement.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a Superman. We're gonna make so much money. Yeah. I'm gonna sell this and go to college.
Yeah.
I get kids. I'm gonna get $100,000. Oh my fuck! I think that's the biggest economic disappointment in any collector's lifetime was buying all that's a Superman. It turned out 50 cents.
Yeah, ironically, I'm terrible at taking care of I don't really take care of them. I literally use them to read them or just look through them for the art and stuff. I only have bagged up. I have some old stuff like Fantastic Four number 32, a couple some old books. And I think I have my Gru, my first book. I still have it. I have it bagged up, but for the most part, and some of my books I try to keep perfect. So for my kids, for when they're older and stuff. But for the most part, I keep them just as is. I don't mind letting them get all beat up and stuff, and then I'll give them away once I get too many. I've given away.
A key question. I'm very curious about this because some people don't like getting their own stuff. Do you have any of your own books, like for kids or anything like that down the line? Do you have like a little collection of your own stuff?
Yeah. No, I definitely have. I have 3 daughters, so I keep 3 copies of everything I have. Yeah. So
that's smart, man.
Yeah, so I keep 3 copies. So whenever I go, they each, and then they can do whatever they want with it. And so if they want to keep them or do whatever, but at least they'll each have a copy of something. So for the most part, most of the comps I get at least 3 copies, except for some of the trades and stuff. But all the single issues, I get usually at least 3 copies. So I make sure I bag those up. So each of the girls gets one at some point.
Everybody else's comics, fuck them, they're fine. My comics, those are bagged and board.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. You know what? These ones are pristine. Fantastic Four, get out of here. X-Force, though. There we go. My name on it, bag it. I like that. I like it.
So that was, some early influences was that era, that the Jim Lee Claremont X-Men was the first time I kind of was like, well, the X-Men, that's when it really blew up for me, and the characters and stuff. My brother had the issue #1 of Wolverine where he's standing on a pile of dudes on that cover. So I was like, well, like Wolverine, that was the first time I even saw Wolverine or knew who he was.
That's a bad way to see him. That's a good way. That's a pretty good way.
And it's cool now. I mean, I get to draw them all the time. So
that's true. Do you have a favorite X-Men member? Because I mean, I've never worked in X-Men, but everybody has a favorite X-Men member. Who's yours? At least two. They like to draw. I'll give you that.
Well, maybe my favorite, and I don't get to draw, is Mystique.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't often hear that anymore.
A combination of her looks, her history, her character, power set. She just looks awesome. I've only gotten to draw her like twice so far. Just a couple panels.
Big fan of that skull belt, though. I really am. That skull belt, you gotta have it. If not, it's like, who's Mystique without that skull belt? Come on.
You just saw the Marvel Fortnite thing that came out. My girls have that and it's got Mystique, and it has two versions of Mystique. It has the one in the white dress with the skull belt, which is my favorite one.
I'm a younger guy and I dislike Fortnite, but that's how you hook me in. That's how you get me into that.
Yeah, that's all full. I just did a cover for and I have an X-Force cover that's a Fortnite X-Force cover. They didn't show it yet. They did say that I did one, but they showed I think only half of them so far this last week. Wow. And it's it's a fun little crossover.
It had to be interesting. I mean, do you like the game at all? Do you game or do you know?
I didn't play it. I haven't played it at all. Just my daughters do, because all their cousins play, and especially right now with everybody self-quarantining, they can just be on their headsets and talk to their cousins all the time. So at least they have contact, and that's kind of we bought an Xbox for them just during this, because they can't go out and see other family and friends and stuff. So that way they can stay in contact. So now they're all in.
Did you tell them that? Like, hey, did you when you told them? I mean, I'm assuming you told them you did a Fortnite cover. Like, hey, Dad did this. Did it score you any points? Or they like, pop off?
Well, that's when they pitched me. I get an email from editorial, and I'm like, yeah, this will score me points with my kids. They'll think I'm cool now. So.
You're thinking the good way, sir. That is the best way to do it, Joshua.
I got it. So now I'm cool, because anything Dad does is never cool. And so this thing, actually, I talked with my colorist for it, Dean White, and he colored it, and we're both gonna each get a poster made so we can have one in like our daughter's room, so while they're playing their video games.
Man, what the hell? I'm now jealous. I'm like, I wish I could have that as my dad, but then again, my dad's pretty cool. Shout out to you, Jason. I love you. But I got to say that, because otherwise he'll listen. He'll be like, you piece of shit. But still, I mean, that's cool, though. That is some big dad points. Big dad kudos.
I try.
Yeah. Well, who else is your favorite X-Men, though? You got Mystique on there, and what other ones you got? Like, is there one? Maybe is it one that you've learned to like after drawing his character a little bit? I like the design.
Black Tom Cassidy.
Black Tom Cassidy?
Yeah.
I never hear that. I'm not even fully on your stream. Nobody ever says that around me, ever. Black Tom Cassidy, nobody.
No, I mean, I didn't know Black Tom Cassidy like barely at all. I knew he existed, and I'd seen him here and there, but it's literally because of the work that we're doing on him with and the way Ben writes him has given him so much character and his purpose in what's going on in the X-Men and the Dawn of X right now. And so it's the way he writes him just makes me excited to draw him and give him his mannerisms and stuff. And so I really enjoy him. Of course, I love Wolverine too.
Yeah, that's a given.
Of course, yeah. That's why.
Everyone, yeah. If they say if someone in comics says you don't like Wolverine and they read a lot of Marvel, you tend to question that person.
I question their sanity. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sanity's gone out the window. It's 2020, Joshua. Come on now. It's over. It's all gone. It's all poured out. But man, that's cool though. So how long? I mean, technically, how long have you been working with X-Men though? Since you read them as a kid and stuff like that. Like, how long has it been? I'm curious on that.
What do you mean, reading or just working on them, drawing?
Just working on them. Yeah. Like, how long has it been for you? Like, living the dream of getting to create X-Men.
Well, I mean, only a year and a half now. I was working, so I started at Marvel. I jumped right over. So I was working at Titan, and that's when they contacted me and like, hey, you want to come over? And I had a project lined up, and I had a chance to jump in. They didn't even give me like test pages. I think they had seen already what I was doing, and they said, hey, do you want to jump in and do an issue of New Avengers? So I did an issue of New Avengers. I was working in the Avengers office, and I did an issue there, and they're like, oh, they were ready to like throw me some more. But I said I had already committed to this other book, and I did this book with Titan called Mycroft Holmes and the Apocalypse Handbook. It's a fun kind of Victorian era. I mean, it's Mycroft Holmes, the brother of Sherlock Holmes, and it's much more of a kind of Indiana Jones swashbuckling, kind of like fun all ages adventures book.
Never heard of this.
It's a little more adult. Yeah, I did it. I drew it. The writers were Raymond Obstfeld and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and it was a 5-issue book, and perfect little trade. Really, really fun book, actually. and a little bit violent and fun, but adventure-y.
Sounds cool. It sounds cool. Like, as an Indiana Jones fan, I like that. I'm like, ooh, and Sherlock Holmes fan, I like it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hybrid of those two.
Wow.
So I did that, and I was in that, and Marvel. I already had this project, but when I was done with it, they said, "Yeah, I'm ready to come back." And so I started doing. I helped out with some Secret Empire issues.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I did like a 30-page one-shot in Secret Empire, and then also was helping out kind of some stories. I was doing some of the Black Widow storyline, some pages here and there, and then I did Falcon. I did with Rodney Barnes. We did Falcon Jesus. For like 8 issues or something like that. They gave us a little run there, which was a lot of fun. Was doing some Sam Wilson in his awesome black and red, the newer outfit.
Love it. Yeah. I love that outfit so much. Yeah, Falcon suit's always cool. Even the old school white and red one, I thought it was cool.
The old school white one's awesome, but cool and sleek, and I really loved doing that. So I have a big soft spot for Sam Wilson now from working on the character, and diving in on him. And then they had me jump over. I think I did the Sentry next.
A little known Marvel character, yeah.
Yeah, and that seems to be that was good for me because I think that's where I started to turn and get better.
How so? What do you mean?
I don't know why. A light went. I think what it was kind of a split. They had me jump in. Kim Jacinto had been the original artist on it, but he had been sick and wasn't able to kind of keep up, and so they had me jump on. And the story takes place in kind of this dual. One part takes in the mind area, and the other part in the real world. And they would split us up to where I would draw one section, and so the art style split, so it not as confusing. And watching his work, because he's super dynamic and kinetic, and his style's not like mine at all. But there was something I think I saw in his, and just even some other artists at the time, just I think kind of clicked for me, and that's when I think I started. I don't know. I think I just started getting better there.
It was more of a mental thing of, why didn't I do it this way before? Like, is that sort of thing like that? Or is it like, oh my God, I can do things different if I do this?
It's I can't even describe it. I don't know why. It just seemed like I don't know if it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Just something where I was able to, I think I'm just starting to get better. I see some progression. It's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're always working, you're getting better, and then it's just like, oh, then you're looking like, oh, I'm not really. Then you feel like you're digressing. But that one, it seemed like a little bit of a leap forward. And then I jumped over to the Venom office, or to the Spidey office, and doing Venom. They had me jump on to help out doing some Venom.
What else haven't you done? What is going on here?
I've been really fortunate to. And I think that's the fun part is I've gotten to do a little bit of some Avengers stuff, and then jumping over into that, and then now the Spider-Man office and doing some Venom, and which is really, really cool. I mean, I get to draw a Donny Cates script. I mean, but I have to follow but I got to follow Ryan Stegman and Ivan Kahlo and that's tough. That's but
scary.
you just do what you do. They hire you for a reason. That's something I have to tell myself here and there. Because when you get down on yourself of like, oh, this is terrible, you realize you just put in the effort and put in the work. You realize they hired you for a reason, and they asked you to draw this for a reason because of the way you do it. And so doing Venom again was kind of, it opens your eyes to a different way of drawing. I'm drawing the symbiote. And just the way you do the character acting, it was really cool because the section I did was just this part of Eddie Brock and his kid and the symbiote, and a lot of emotion. You think of Venom as mostly just big action-y kind of book, but the way Donnie's writing that book, man, like there's a ton of emotion, a ton of character, and so I did that helped me do my character acting better, I think, too, which led into doing X-Force. I was finishing up. I'd done it like a Star Wars 5-pager to help fill in a gap. I was waiting for a script, and I was doing a Venom one shot for one like Venom Cult of Carnage or something last year, and I had done like the first couple pages, and I got an email saying, hey, we got this thing going on over in the X office, and we would like you to come do X-Force #1 and come do X-Force. So, it was your choice if you want to do it. And I hate, I had to make sure with all my editors, I don't want to jump on and do anything. But this has all been, they do that way. Before I even get an email, they talk about this, obviously. So I don't like to step on any toes for everybody who's, giving me work.
And you don't want to get over cucumbered or whatever. You don't want to have so much work. I know English. It's been a weekend, but you don't want to have so much work. Like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Next, well, I have no time.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. But also, it's just like you're going to jump. It's literally you have to abandon what you're working on right now because we need you to jump on immediately. So this is last year in like March or April, and it wasn't coming out. Didn't come out till October or November, but it was being double shipped. So remember, they were coming out every 2 weeks.
That's true.
At the time.
But it is normal, though. I do want to kind of interrupt here just a little bit to say to people like, why do you get hired so early? It's normal. You and I both know it's normal that you're working on a book months. Even I've been in the pipeline for years with a company, or not years, about 8 months. It's been in the pipeline before it even gets announced.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, before I get it, it's just an idea, and things get pitched out a long time, a year before or whatever. Then it's lining up with the writer, getting your right outlines. How is this going to work? And then finally getting a script. Before then even an artist sees it, and usually they have at least the first one in the can or a couple of them to get going. So things that are the things that are going to happen next right now are already being talked about, and then they're going to be lining up. I'm sure they schedule it way out, and especially I'm not the fastest artist either, and so I can't do, if you hired me today to have a book that's out next month and then keep on schedule, that's probably not going to happen. But if you give it a decent lead time, I can do a great chunk and do a run in a row, and then you have to take a little bit of a break, and at least to keep up the quality. You don't want to downgrade your work, and you want it to look the same. So,
exactly. Exactly. But I mean, people just never. I wanted to put that out there. Sorry, I interrupted. I just want to put that out there because people don't know that fact at all. They're like, oh, it's made in a month. Like, no. What are you talking about? Like, there's no way in hell you could ever do that. Not even the fastest artist could do a month and do so many issues and it's being printed and all that stuff out there. But who knows?
No, there's so much behind it, and hopefully, the craft, and definitely once you get into this sort of thing, I think it makes you appreciate more. Like now, I look at every book on the shelf and I'm way less critical than I was when I was 15 years old. I'm like, I don't like that. Whatever. Now, number one, I just from drawing and getting to, I appreciate all the different art styles. I think comics is so great right now because there's so much. There's kind of house styles you'll see, but the varied art you'll see across, the entire shelf is fantastic. It's amazing, and I love it.
There's so many. What was it? Someone said the other day, because going back, I guess you could say, paleontological studies, like we're in the golden age of dinosaurs. I almost want to say we're in the golden age part 2 of comics, because we have so many, like you yourself, you're doing so many different series, and that alone should tell you there's so many Marvel books out. There's so many DC, hopefully still. There's so many DC books still out. We have so many indie companies. I work for one too. I got 7 books. We're in a time where, and there's digital, there's physical, there's, I think, a third one. No, it's just digital and physical, and the stores, online, all sorts of jazz like that. Like, it's almost a new age.
The different genres and just everything. I mean, everyone you think of comics, you do think of
heroes,
Superman, Spider-Man, you think about that, but just a lot of the stuff I read, I think for pleasure, are not necessarily the superhero stuff, and I love that. I love just how you can, if you want to do a horror book, a funny book, anything like that, some just off the wall stuff, you can do it. If you got an artist.
I got a question though for you for that. Have you ever read a nature comic, like with animals or dinosaurs or anything like that? There's a few.
Currently, I don't know. Actually, on all honesty, I don't even know.
Check them out, because I think, especially too, as a guy who fascination with nature, there's a couple of dinosaur ones. It's like Age of Reptiles. I think you could give it a Google online.
So Age of Reptiles.
Yeah, it's all like there's no dialogue. There's no humans in it. It's all like you're following different stories of different, and there's a few indie companies that do it too, with Ice Age animals, modern day animals, stuff like that. I think maybe a couple people do cavemen sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Check them out. I think you'd actually like, especially because some of the art in there, beautiful, especially Age of Reptiles. Check it out. I think you'd actually like it. Like it's a good sit down, inspirational sort of thing. One like you like to read in your free time.
Yeah. Well, listen, now it's just audio. Like if I can, it's audiobooks because, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's reading, I guess, technically, but
it's
I had to get away from it. I have a 4-year-old too. My other daughters are older, but there's just, I wasn't able to, I have to pay attention to her too. I couldn't really get into books while I'm working. So there was a while I was able to do a lot of audiobooks. I'm just starting to get into it now, she's getting older to where I don't have to constantly have my ear out and be distracted, because on an audiobook, the moment you take your head away, like, you know, when you read, is the moment you stop, it stops. But literally the moment I have to check a message or an email or just answer my wife or something, you lose your spot. You don't know where you're at. You got to jump
all the
back.
Feelings, your development into the world, being sucked into it, and that you're like pulled back out, like the kid's being pulled out of Narnia. Like, oh shit, we're back in World War I. Damn it.
Yeah. Well,
damn it.
I've just got hours to fill, you know, while I'm working. If I'm working anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a day or so, that I've just need something to listen to anyway, you know. So it's a mix of everything. It's audiobooks, you know, and especially even public domain stuff you can get through YouTube. I mean, there's tons of public domain stuff, some of the old classics and stuff, even like 1984 or whatever, and you listen to just all kinds of stuff, music, podcasts, TV, anything, movies. I can't play any. I have to watch. I can only play movies that I've seen before, at least a bunch of times.
Yeah, because if it's
I don't
something
have
new,
to look at the visuals.
Exactly, because then you're done. You're like, oh, what is that? Oh shit, where am I at? What was I doing? Oh yeah. You know what? I want your opinion on this, because there's somebody, I won't name names. It's a friend of mine who works in comics too, and they're like, oh, I don't usually work with anything. I usually work in silence. Those people scare me. I don't know how, whether artists or writers, like if you work in silence with no music, podcasts, or anything like that, I don't know. It's scary.
No, I know. I think there's something good to it, because there's, especially if it's, to me, it's either early in the morning or late at night. I think there's something to it when all you hear, because usually the world outside is quiet. My house is quiet. Everyone's still asleep or had gone to sleep. Yeah. Just the sound of, and I still work traditionally, so the sound of the pencil on the paper and maybe, or the ink and stuff like that, there's something meditative about it, or either silence or just almost like that really mellow meditative background music, but set pretty low. Yeah. Actually, I can see that. I like that. I couldn't do it all. I couldn't film I need to listen to something throughout the day. Yeah. There's definitely moments, like I said, early in the morning, if I get up, especially right now with summer and it's hot as heck where I live, and
I feel that. I feel that here.
Yeah, the sun is, you know, up early, and so I'm able to kind of sit down and get my first 2 hours in before there's really any interruption, and I actually generally like it pretty quiet and mellow.
Nice.
So if I'm a weirdo for that, I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird, but we're all weird in our different quirks and stuff like that. Sure. So I mean, there's that. What am I gonna say? Well, good man. I don't want to take any more of your time today. I do want to say thank you for coming on the show, boss. This has been fun. You've given a lot of good advice here. I don't know if you realize that or not, but you've given a lot of good motivational stuff to people out there.
Oh, thank. I mean, yeah, you hope so. If it comes down to that, it's whether you're gonna write. I mean, if you're into the writing or the thing, it's just keep doing it. Yeah. Be self-aware too, as far as your shortcomings, because it's the only way, you know, we talked about it before. It's the only way you get better. It's
true.
If you see where you're failing, every day, just even right now when I'm working on right now, I already see what I messed up on, and you know, you get better there. It's, you know, you just persevere and keep doing it, and especially right now with comics and all the different art styles, that even Marvel, you'll see, has all kinds of different art styles for different books, and if that's, you know, your end goal is to work with them, you know, just keep doing what you're doing, and there is luck involved as far as getting hired, but luck is preparation, you know, meets meets opportunity, as they say, because if you're not ready for it, then it's not going to come anyway. You can't just barge through the door unless you're probably ready to do that and work at this pace. It's not. It's an awesome job, but it's not easy. It's constant. I'm working all day and night. I get plenty of interruptions through my day. If I could just work a 10-hour shift every day, I would do that. But my days just end up being stretched longer because of everything else in my life and working from home and everything going on right now. So my life's not very different from what it was before.
Fair enough.
And lucky. Yeah. So, but I think being ready for that part of it too, because it does consume you. I don't know about other artists, but it does. Like, I'm constantly thinking about storytelling and what I'm working on or what I'm going to be working on too. It's nonstop.
It's everybody. It is. Yeah. It is writers included. I'll vouch. It's writers too. You're always thinking. You're always working. You're always planning for the next thing. You're seeing what stuff you have to do. Especially me co-creating comics, I have to approve of stuff. So it's like, oh, what's your idea for this thing? Like, oh shit. Yeah. Well.
But there, but there's good. I mean, it's a collaboration. Unless you're doing everything yourself, you have to be able to work with other people. Oh, yeah. And but there's something great about when you work with really great people. That helps a lot. Like my editors and right now I'm working with Ben writing. I just did. I mean, it's great to him and I are back and forth every day. I mean, we're not just through the emails, through the official channels. Him and I text every day. So a combination of just our personal lives, we have a personal relationship, but also just through story. He'll always throw things out at me, and he's always asking even for ideas of, hey, I'm doing this next arc. Do you have any ideas? What do you want to draw necessarily? And he'll incorporate my ideas, and he'll definitely entertain pretty much everything I'll pitch to him.
It's good teamwork.
We run it through everybody first, and just having that too. So I think if you want to try to do this sort of thing, I think finding a way of teaming up with a writer, or you put yourself out there, hopefully even to at least get paid for it too, but also just collaborating, just even on a short story, I think is a really good thing for people. And you can co-create it and own it, but just to get that practice in, I think is a good thing. Just to find a writer that they might like, or writers hit up artists and be like, artists are trying to make their way up and be like, let's just draw a 3-page story together and do something. I think there's some value in going off somebody's script or having some input in crafting a story and then creating something, which then now you do. And what I do at Marvel is, it's on just such a bigger scale. And now I'm like, not only I see this, I'm finishing up, I'm doing some X of Swords stuff, which is the big crossover that's coming in the fall. And like, it's not just Ben and I, but also I have Ben and Jerry Dugan are officially the script writers on the book that I'm drawing right now. But it's also going over with Jonathan Hickman and Teenie Howard and the whole writers group, and then all the editors, because everything's got to be in concert, right?
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of so I can imagine. I get my one corner, and if I get all my reference, and I've gotten to see all the amazing other art. I've read some of the books already, and I got to see. So that helps you too, kind of keep motivated. Like, oh man, I gotta step up my game because I'm seeing what's coming in. But also, that a lot of eyeballs are on it, and so you want it to be as awesome as possible. And so I'm always nervous turning in a page, because I know not only just my editors, but all the writers who have their foot in this story too.
It's like presented in front of the class again. Like, oh no, like, okay, well, the girl I like is over there. My best friend's over there. Oh shit, welcome to speech class.
I'm terrified almost every time I turn in a page.
I'm worried too. Oh, so I was gonna say, I'm in the same sense as a writer. Like, I'm worried too. Like, fuck, are fans gonna like this? Is the artist gonna be okay? Is it too much? Because that's my fear, as I write stuff and it's too much for an artist. That's my utmost fear, because I don't want to have Paul, shout out to you, Paul. I don't want to have him come call me and be like, what the fuck? You have me draw all this? Like, no, I'm sorry, we can check. That's my fear, is to have that happen.
Well, that's also good too, to come back at some. I've come back and be like, hey, the writer should be malleable just like the artist too, where, hey, the things what work, the writer's work, and Ben's great. He immediately, he sends out the script, and then he's like, this is a basic framework. If you can think of a better way to do it, or if you need to rearrange it or something like that. I've rarely had to. He's a damn good writer, so sure. I don't have to worry about it that much. But we work together so well, and that's just, I've been really fortunate with that, to just have those collaborators. that's the name of the game. I think in any creative industry, like unless you're writing novels, but you still have to work with an editor.
Yeah.
And you just need to do that. But at the end of the day, it's awesome just to create something and have a story out there in the world that other people read, and then getting that feedback once it's out there in the world. It's great, to finally get that feedback when people are like, oh, I love this, oh, this is so awesome, and it's like, good. That's why
I did my job right, and I get to keep feeding my kids. That's also a plus, man. There's so much in this episode, man. I like I said before, like we just kept going, but I'm glad to have you on. This has been very good and inspiring people, because there's a lot of people who listen that are in the business and whatnot as well, but there's a lot of people who listen to the show that are like, oh, I want to get in. How do I get in? How do I be like you? How do I be like this guest here? Yeah. And I think you kind of nailed it on the head here. And what, like, a little bit of, here's that little bit of push, kind of that sort of thing. And I thank you for that. I thank you for it.
There's a million different ways to break. Everyone has their own like breaking in story, I guess. And you never feel like you really break in, I guess. Because you're only as good as your last thing you drew, and you're hoping to keep going and get better. It's just about, I think the hard part is to just make yourself do it. It's always easy to sit back. I want to do it, but it's tough it's always about finishing something, finishing those drawings, and then finishing stories is where you go. If you want to be a sequential artist like what I'm doing, you gotta do whole stories. And probably a good thing when I think this is what turned me to when I had started doing portfolio things. They'd be, oh, this is really good. But the very first question they would ask is, what have you worked on? What have you done before? Because they want to know you're a proven quantity.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is talent. This looks really good, and this is publishable. But I don't know what kind of person you are. I don't know. It goes back to the collaboration we talked about. I don't know if you're some Yahoo who I can't really work with, doesn't take any criticism or edits. I don't know how long you took to draw this. You could have taken 10 years to do this whole portfolio.
Yeah,
it's true. So that would be the first. They would, they might be like, wow, this looks good. What have you worked on? If I, at the time when I said I had nothing, you immediately kind of just, okay, well, he's really green, and less chance of taking a shot at you.
They throw you out the window usually pretty fast.
Yeah, but when I started doing, I'd done my little book for myself, and then I started working with a writer friend. Kind of create our own little world where I had some sequential pages, and so I had this whole book, and I think that's when they were more receptive to, oh, look, he can finish this sort of thing. Oh, look, he did a whole story, and I think there was a little more value in their eyes where they saw that I've made something. And then once I did something, with Titan and just anything, it's like, okay, he's worked with the writers and editors, and now he can get hopefully something done on time.
Hopefully, yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Somebody who does, I think, just make your own book. Like I said, I did a silent book.
Yeah, easy.
And just draw your own. Even you don't have to be the best storyteller. Just think of a real simple plot, A to B. Just draw it out. Do it in 10 pages. Make a little book. And I think it has a little more weight when you start showing people your work. Like, hey, look, I can do this sort of thing, instead of just a bunch of just fun drawings of Spider-Man.
It's true. Oh, it's true, man. If I wasn't already working in comics, I'd be like, I need to listen to this guy. To be honest with you, I'd be like, shit. I can't say anything more other than that, boss. I really can't. And I want to say, I like the hat, by the way. I wanted to say that now. Not a fan of the team, but I appreciate. But
I like your shark hat.
Thank you. Well, I want to say, man, thank you for coming on again. And I know you said it's only for work, but people like following this sort of thing. Where can they follow you on social media?
Yeah, it's just Twitter right now. Twitter, it's at Joshua Cassara, I think my full name. Find me there. There's a bunch of stuff. There's a announcement with Marvel coming up. I was assuming it was coming up this week. I don't know. There's something involved with that Marvel, which is really cool. I don't think I have anything out till mostly November. All the X of Sword, the 10 of Swords stuff I'm working on right now, that comes out in November. I did the Wolverine Black, White, and Blood. I did one of the chapters in that, which comes out in November. That just got announced like last week or the week before.
Heard about that, yeah.
And just more X-Force. I'm scheduled to be drawing X-Force for as long as we can. So
I like it, man. Well, I definitely can't wait to see more of your work, because I think your work's beautiful. So I wanted you on the show. I'm like, I gotta get this guy on. Come on. And you are a teacher. I want you to give a TED talk, Joshua. I really do. It'd be really good, I think. Like break it into comics with Joshua.
We'll call it Josh Talk.
Josh Talk? Oh, that's fuck. That's how you get sued. Because someone will be like from TED Talk, But all right, good man. I will let you get going. Like I said, thank you for coming on, and I will email you when this episode comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know, man. Cheers.
Sweet. Have a good one, man.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right, bye.